Welcome to my channel. This is Code with Godfred. So in this quick tutorial, we will learn how to build simple jokes generator using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we'll also be integrating an open API for our joke. So without further ado, so let's get started. And if this is the first time you're coming across my video, don't forget to support the channel by liking, subscribing to the channel. So we'll build this using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript by integrating an open API. When I click, generate a random joke. I click again, generate a random joke. I click, generate a random joke. So let's get started. So the first thing I will do, I'll create a HTML file. It should be index.html. With my enter key, I'll create another file which is styles.css. And I'll create the last file which is script.js. So this is my HTML file. I'll generate a boilerplate and I'll hit enter key. Right? So here I'll link my CSS, which is link. I'll be style.css. I'll change my title here to jokes generator. At the bottom of the body, I will link my JavaScript. It should be script. In the opening tag, I'll put src, which is source. It should be script.js, and I'll save. Next thing I'll do, I have a container. I'll use a semantic tag. That is the main, the class of main dash container. And I'll hit my tab key. I have my main container. So inside the main container, we have the title, which is h2 with class of jokes title. I'll hit my tab key. So between the opening and the closing tag, I'll write random jokes and I'll save. You can see I have random joke here. Then I'll have a paragraph tag. That will be our joke, which will be p with the class of jokes display. This will display our jokes. And I'll write, click the button to generate jokes. Click the button to generate jokes and I'll save. The next thing I'll do, I'll start the button. There will be button. There will be button. And I'll, in between the opening and the closing tag, I'll write generate jokes and I'll save. And I'll give the button the class of jokes dash btn and also save. We are done with our HTML. So head on to our CSS to style it. I'll do a global reset. This select everything on the web page. I'll change the margin to 0, padding 0, so the margin is gone. Padding 0, padding also is gone. The out of box sizing to border box. Next thing I will do, I'll style the body. I'll make the body a flex container. I will align item to center. I'll give our browser a height of 100 viewport height and I'll save and I'll also justify content to center. You can see we have our jokes at the center of our browser. Head on to my HTML. I'll copy the main container class. I'll select with the class. I'll give it a background color. I'll use this blue violet. You can select any color of your choice. I'll give it a padding, top and bottom of 20px, then left and right of 60px. Padding and also a border radius of 8px. Give it a round corner, 8 or 9. If there's error in my typing, container, I'll correct that. I'll head back to my HTML and I'll correct as well. I'll save and I'll give it a max width so that our joke does not overflow our container. I'll do 500px. Our container style. Start with the heading, which is the joke title. Before I style it in the body, I'll put a font family. Since it's a small project, I will not be creating variable. I'll use Lato. If there's no Lato, should load sans serif. And I'll save. I'll now style the title, font family to inherit from the body. That's inherited the body font. I'll set the color. I'll use white. Set the font size to rem. And I'll text align to center. And I'll save. And I'll give it a margin, top and bottom, of 16 px and left and right of 0. You can see there's a margin. The next thing I'll joke display, I'll paste. I'll change the color to white. Also the font family to inherit from the body. Font size to 1 rem. And also save. The next thing I'll head on to button. I'll start the button. I'll copy the button class. I'll select with the class. First of all, I'll take up the border to none. I'll change the background color. Let's try white and see if it's going to work. I'll give it the padding. I'll do 16 px and 32 px. This one works fine. Then cursor to pointer. Border radius of 8 px and the font size 1 rem. Then I'll make it stay at the center. I'll display block. Then margin. Top and bottom we use 16 px. Then left and right we use O2 to stay at the middle of the container. Our button at the middle of the container. The next thing we'll do, head on to our JavaScript. So head on my JavaScript. I'll confirm my JavaScript link to my HTML. I'll write a built-in function called alert. I'll open a parenthesis with a string. We are learning how to build a joke generator. Now save. It doesn't work. Head back to my HTML. Take this off. I write scripts. And the src script.js. And I'll save this time around. My last should work. So my JavaScript is linked properly. So I'll take this off. First thing I'll do, I have 3 variables which will store our data. First variable will be this. This will display the jokes that is coming from the backend. I'll write const joke display. Use a camel case. Also documents dot query selector. Select with the class. I'll paste the class. Another variable will be const joke btn equals to document dot query selector. Select with the class. Paste the class. And the last variable will be our API, which I will declare with const URL, which is equals to, this is my URL. If you want the URL for this particular code, you can comment URL and I'll send you the API. So I have my 3 variables ready. So the next thing we'll be doing, we're writing our function that will generate a random joke each time we click the button. So I'll write function and I'll give my function a name, generate jokes. First thing I will do, I'll use a fetch. I'll fetch from this our URL, which is the variable that we're fetching our data from. Generate, there's an error in my typing. It's correct now. We'll attach .then, which will be our first response. Then we'll pass in the callback function. Inside the callback function, use response as our parameter. Here we'll write our conditional. So if our response is not okay, that is exclamation mark here, that is not okay, should throw an error. That is server and the status of the error. It could be 44 error, it could be 22 error, it could be 400 error. After throwing error, should return our response.json. That is a readable format to JavaScript. We'll attach a second then, which will be our data. We'll attach a second then. We'll pass in the callback function. Then the data we are getting from the backend as a parameter. So we'll write our conditional using if-else statement. So if data.type, the type of data coming from the backend equals to single, that is a single joke. That we are using strict equality operator here to avoid conversion behavior of JavaScript. Copy the joke that will be displayed dot text, joke display dot text content equals to data dot type, and I'll save. Else there's error here. Else joke dot text content will equals use, since we want to put a template string, we use a backtick with the $sign, that is string interpolation, data setup, data dot setup, and also data delivery. We are done. So if there's an error, so we'll write our catch block, which is dot catch, passing the callback function. They'll pass an error as a parameter in our callback function. Is error. So if there's an error, the jokes dot display dot text content be equals to, I pass a string. Oops, no jokes at the moment, and I'll save. After writing the error block, the last thing we'll do, we'll make our button interactive, which will be joke btn dot add event listener. We'll listen for a click event. Then we'll pass in this function as our second parameter. So I guess it should work now. There should be a comma or full stop. And I click. Oops, no joke at the moment. Let's go through the code, see where there's error. Okay, I think there's an error here. There's an error here. And here is save mode. Now save. There is an error here. There's an error on the URL. There should be a string. So I'll add a string here and also a string here. And I save. I guess it should work now. Okay, I guess our joke is working. You can see when you click, generate a random joke. When I click, generate a random joke. Thanks for watching. If you find this tutorial interesting, don't forget to support the channel by liking and subscribing to YouTube channel.